Hi, my name is Lisa. I'm your host on Velo Dulce, the show where we talk women, performance, and life. Velo Dulce comes from the Italian phrase La vita dolce, which means the good life. These are stories from women around the world on finding the good life, no matter what life throws at them. Hey, everybody. Welcome. My guest today is Eva Wiggelendam. Her story begins in Amsterdam in 1989. She's Dutch. And from a young age, she cultivated passion for sport, but actually then started studying political science. From what I gather, she has always dreamed about changing the world, and she's still doing that, just in a slightly different way. So she started doing an internship at the Dutch consulate in Barcelona, but then realized that actually diplomatic surroundings were maybe not quite right for her. She was looking for the dynamic and fast-paced nature of sport. Since 2019, she has been involved in one of my most favorite sports, MotoGP, and she has been she's been involved since before that, but since 2019, she's been a coordinator for Repsol Honda, one of the most prestigious teams in MotoGP. She is the only female on the team that covered all the Grand Prix circuits in 2020 and was featured as a Women in MotoGP star in 2021. Eva, thank you for joining me.
You're welcome. I'm excited to join the podcast.
Thank you. So you got into MotoGP kind of by accident, as I gather. Like, what is the story?
I was actually working in football here in Barcelona, and through a common friend, I found out that they were looking for somebody at Dorna. That is the company that is organizing the World Championship. And they were looking for an event coordinator in the talent promotion department, which is, they organize small championships in different parts of the world to look for motorsports talent. So they do the Asia Talent Cup. They are part of the Red Bull Rookies in the Spanish Championship. And they started a new project by the time, which was the British Talent Cup. And I was involved from the beginning with that organization. So when I got hired the next week, I was already at Silverstone. When we started the first event, selecting all the young riders who were really young, from, I think if I remember well, from between 11 and 16, 17 years old. So some were still really cute, and so that was actually the start in MotoGP. However, when I was studying, I already worked at some circuits selling merchandising, just as a student job. So I knew a little bit about how things were working, but apart from that, it was totally new, because I'm a big sports fan, but to be honest, MotoGP was not my favorite sport at all. I didn't have actually such much knowledge about it, but that was also what I found really challenging about it. So I thought, let's try this, and that's how I started in the motorsports world. And then after 1 year and a half, I thought it was like time for something new, and then the opportunity at Repsol Honda came up. So I was just really lucky.
Is it crazy when you look back and look at the story to where you are now?
But actually many things in my professional life happened a little bit that way, because the first time I worked in MotoGP selling merchandise was a little bit the same, because I had a Dutch friend in Barcelona, and she worked at the Catalonia Grand Prix for this merchandise company. And she was with a friend, and they were supposed to go to Assen the week after. but then the friend couldn't go, and they said, you don't have a friend who can maybe join, who is Dutch, who speaks Spanish. And she thought about me, and she called me, and she's like, hey, you want to come next week to Austin? And I was like, okay.
Wow.
And then
Hell
I
yeah.
went, and 2 weeks after, we both sat on a plane to San Francisco, because we were going to Laguna Seca. So it was all like a little bit this way,
Wow.
I think I've just been lucky. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So have you formed a love of MotoGP now, or is it kind of like work and then you have, I mean, because, okay, first let's start with your role is, if I'm not mistaken, you basically organize logistics and travel, which
Yes.
is
Yes.
massive, massive job.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. We are around 45, 50 people every GP, and we have around, with the test included, around 24 events during the season. So I always compare it a little bit to a circus. We just are the same people moving around. So yeah, that's I actually take care of everything what has not to do with anything technical or anything like what's happening inside the garage. I just make
right,
sure that all the everything behind the scenes is like organized. So I also don't take care about the logistics of the material. I have a colleague for
right.
that. So it's all about the people, guests, accreditations, uniforms, like kind of more random stuff. That is important, but of course the most important thing is the bike and the performance of the bike and the rider. But I just make sure that they don't have to think
Well,
about all these random things.
and the team. Um, so you must basically be one of the most organized people on the planet, right?
Yeah, you have to be really organized, because you have to do many things at the same time. Yeah,
How do you
especially
how
in the
do you
beginning
manage,
of the season, you're already preparing everything. So
how do you manage to stay so organized?
mm, I think it's just part of my character, actually. Yeah.
Right.
I
That's
I
amazing.
I make thousands of lists and write everything down, and so yeah, I'm a bit control freak in that. Yeah.
So I read a quote that you said. It went along the lines of, I realized that this team would demand a lot of commitment from me because they would always aim for the top. Being a competitive person, I had confirmation I would feel comfortable in that environment. Take us through work life at Honda Repsol. Does it demand the kind of commitment you anticipated?
Yeah, even more that I thought about. Yeah, it 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 requires 100% commitment, 365 days a year, 24/7, more or less.
Wow.
I think only maybe between Christmas and New Year's there is some, you really feel like nothing is really going on. But yeah, it's really typical that when the season ends, a lot of people say, "Oh, enjoy your holidays and your time off." But if you are the team coordinator, it's actually when you start already doing the next year, and there are a lot of things happening that, for example, you don't see on TV. There is a team that is testing during the year, which is you don't see them, but they are also traveling around the world, which normally is like in between GPs. So it normally never stops. And I think what also made my job very difficult was, of course, when the COVID pandemic was so present, and in 2020, well, we stopped for like 4 months or 5 months, as the world stopped, actually. But very soon the organization was already really sure that I wanted to start again in well, the best way possible. And then, yeah, well, everyone knows traveling got so difficult, and yeah, that was really like a nightmare. All these tests, we had to at some point leave behind people at some destination because they couldn't travel. That was really stressful. Yeah.
Yeah, I cannot even begin to imagine. That must have been super stressful.
Yeah, yeah. Also because it's all last minute. You don't
Right.
know if somebody will
Gets
test
COVID.
positive one day before the
Sure.
event. So yeah, I think you have to be really flexible, and you always have to think about a plan A, a plan B, and maybe also a plan C, because just many things can happen. Yeah, things never go as planned.
No, they never do in life. But they never do in life, but I can only imagine even more so in that environment. I want to talk a little bit about like that demand of the career, because I think a lot of people see people like you, or see top performing sports stars I've spoken to in the past, and they're like, oh, I want to live like that, but they don't understand the dedication, the commitment, as you say, 24/7. It's not all like, look at me with Marc Marquez. No, it's really hard grind. Like, for people really wanting to get into, I call it a high performance career, what do you have to know before you jump into a high performance career?
I can imagine that also maybe in other sports things might work a little bit different. For example, when I was working in football, we were more working towards an event and not having like a whole year long competition going on. But I think that you have to be aware that if you want to start working in this world, that 95% is not enough. If you are working in a high performance environment, you always need to have the best of the best. And this is really difficult at sometimes, because you cannot how do I say it? Not everything is in your hands. Things happen just because they happen, and you have to just react. And I think in this kind of environment, you have to be aware that if you want to be a world champion as a team or as a sportsman, if you demand 1,000% from yourself, you also demand that from the people around you. So I think, yeah, you have to be aware of that, and you have to make sure that you can handle, because sometimes it can be really stressful.
Right. How do you handle that amount of pressure and stress?
I try to do sports, because this is what clears my mind
Right.
as best as possible, because you need to sometimes, because on a normal day during a Grand Prix, you might arrive at the track at 7:30 in the morning, and you will not leave until like maybe 9:30 after dinner. So you have to make sure to find some time to disconnect, or to, although you run one lap on the track, or I always bring my yoga mat just to try to maybe do always just 20 minutes in the morning, just to make sure you have this connection. But I have to be honest, and sometimes it's really difficult. You get really stressed at some point. Yeah.
Absolutely. So tell us about your sporting life. What do you,
well,
how does your training like?
When I was really young, I did a lot of ballet, but then I started at some point playing field hockey, which is in Holland is really typical sport.
It's big, yes.
So and I really like the social aspect of it, like being part of a team, and I spent the whole weekend at the hockey club, and it was really nice. So this was also good when I moved to Spain. It was a really good way to integrate with local people, because I signed up for a local team, and you go the first day to practice, and you get to know already 20 girls from your age, which is really nice. But of course, when I started working in MotoGP, I couldn't continue with this sport, because I think if you commit to a team, you have to be there. And of course, with traveling 25 weeks a year, it's just impossible to be part of the team and play every weekend. So that's when I stopped playing hockey, and I discovered a whole new sport, cycling, which I'm quite crazy about. So I now have a road bike for about, I think, almost 3.5 years already. And I'm very lucky to live in Barcelona, because
Yes.
from my window, I can see the Tibidabo Hill, which is just, from my house, I think, maybe half an hour and I'm up there. Barcelona has a really nice cycling environment. Like, you have a lot of hills, a lot of really nice paths. The weather also helps a lot. So, and it's good because you can do this in your own time. You don't need to, you don't depend on the team or. So this is something I really, really liked. And I also, in the pandemic, as many other people, I started doing yoga, because it was something you could do from home. And this is, I really like yoga, because as you already said, I'm quite a competitive person, and yoga is something that you have to leave that aside, because it's not a competition. Like, everyone can join, and you just do it your own pace, what your body allows you to do. And this was something new for me. Like, okay, do not look at the person who's on the mat next to you. Just focus on yourself. And this was something maybe difficult for me, but this is a good practice.
I can really identify. I'm also pretty competitive. I'm sure you can identify, like, if you go out on the bike and there's someone in front of you, you're like, come on. And I think yoga is very good for balancing that aspect of the personality.
Exactly.
Because I think also, if you work in a high performance environment and you are a high performance person, you need something to counterbalance that sometimes.
I always thought in the past that I was not spiritual enough for yoga, and I always thought, it's a bit the om and the meditation part. But actually, maybe because I got a little bit older, I don't know. I actually started to really like it. So it's a good way to disconnect and to
that's
really
super
good.
So you mentioned you have a road bike. I moved to Spain 2 years ago. And it is, for me, a cycling paradise. Like,
in which area do you live?
So I live in Oviedo in northern Spain. Lots of mountains, lots of rivers and nature, and it's just magnificent. So I also really love riding my bike here.
Yeah, it's so good. It's also a good way to disconnect and get to be outside. This is also one aspect I really, really like. Of course, we're lucky here with the weather, but also, even when it's cold, or just to have some fresh air out of the office, maybe you just go for 1 hour, but it just clears your head up.
Exactly. I also think it's pretty important in my work life too, I'm pretty much connected all the time. Slack, LinkedIn, email, and just to go out on the bike sometime, and as you say, just have an hour really, really helps balance. I wanted to ask about moving to Spain. Like, how did that happen? How did you learn Spanish?
I actually went for the first time after finishing my high school in the Netherlands, because my parents, they also always thought that learning another foreign language apart from English would be really important, which was the best decision I think ever made by them. So they gave me the opportunity to go to Spain. So I went to Valencia to a language school, just
Wow.
4 months to learn Spanish and to live in Spain. As an 18-year-old, it was a great experience. And already then, when I moved back, because I already was going to study in Amsterdam, I already felt that I wanted to go back to Spain. So I went, after finishing my first year, I went on an Erasmus year into Sevilla, which was also really funny because I thought that my Spanish level was quite good. But then, in the south of Spain, the accent is
It's
quite
so
different.
different.
So I remember being in my first lecture and I was like, oh my God, I don't understand anything of what this teacher is saying. But then I changed and there were some teachers with a different, not such a strong accent. And then I worked for a while in the Netherlands, and then I decided to move back to Spain because I really, really like living here. And I decided to do my master. I was still really young, so I thought I still have time to work the rest of my life. So then I moved to Valencia, and that's more than 10 years ago. And after finishing my master in Valencia, it was quite hard to find a job there. And in Barcelona, there are just a lot more companies, more international companies. So for me, that was just easier, and I found my place here, and I'm really really happy to be here. You think about going back or?
No, I left South Africa in 2020, so I've been here 2 years. I didn't speak a word of Spanish before I came, so I pretty much cried for like the first 2 months. I was like, what am I doing here? But the culture is very, very like South African culture. It's very warm. It's very open. The people are super friendly. South Africa for me will always be in my heart and always be home, but Spain for me has really become home
a
too.
second home. Yeah. This is true. I always, for Christmas or for holidays, when I go to Holland, I go home, but when I go back, I also go home.
You also go home. Yeah, I have the
it's
same
a fun
thing.
feeling.
Yeah, it is. So I wanted to ask, just moving back quickly to the work, just tell us the best and worst thing about your job.
The best thing about the job is being in a team that is competing on the highest possible level in the world. I think this is amazing. In my first year, we became, Marc Marquez became the world champion, but in the end, the whole team that is involved, you really feel like you're part of it, and it was an incredible experience. And I think, the worst part is that work never stops. At some point, I really felt I wanted to throw my phone out of the window.
I get that.
Because I work for a Japanese company with the time difference. Already when you wake up, your mailbox is already full. And then you start working, and then people in Europe wake up. So this is also, it's also different, but this is the part I hate sometimes.
Yeah, I get it. And with your work, have you thought about what is it you want to do with your work outside of yourself? I don't know if you believe this. I believe this. We find ourselves in certain places in life and work, and we're doing a certain job and we're achieving certain things, but often we also want to achieve something like bigger than us. What is that? Is there something like that for you?
Well, I really sometimes have the feeling, like you were saying in the introduction, that when I was young, I always felt like I wanted to change the world or work for United Nations or to do really something for the world. And sometimes I feel like I'm missing that a little bit at the moment. But on the other side, we are competing on on a really high level, but on the same time, we are also providing entertainment in the end. And I think especially, for example, during COVID times, it was also really important that people had something different to watch or different to live or to feel. And when you see the fans at the tracks, and for example, we did, I think, almost 1.5 seasons without any public. And then when the public came back, and again, you felt there was such a nice feeling. So
Yeah.
I thought, yeah, maybe I'm not doing something for the world, like improving it as such, but maybe I do help to have people have a better day, or just, so I try to see it more in that way.
I think it's actually healthy to see things in that way. And from my perspective, I mean, I have one of my lifetime dreams is to go to a MotoGP. Like, I think it will be next year. I think probably Valencia, but let's see. So I think you are doing that. I think, so my perspective on this is, when you are born with a dream in your heart, you will live that dream no matter what you're doing. So the way in which I see you changing the world is that, first of all, you're showing women that they can compete in a high performance environment. And that is critical. And you're telling the truth about it. Like, okay, girls, you want this? Well, you better work your ass off. Like, this is how it works. Right? You want high performance?
I'm not maybe so conscious about this part. Like, while I'm working, I'm not really thinking, okay, but this is something I found out. Yeah, that while I was working, every time, especially when the article on MotoGP was published, I received quite a lot of emails, LinkedIn, Instagram messages from girls who are like, oh, I really want to be there. And I never really thought about like being maybe an example, or maybe being and then I realized that it was really important to have more women in this sports, because when you see a woman working in an environment that you would like to be, you're like, okay, this is possible.
Exactly.
Only a man's world. So this is something I did not realize as much in the beginning, but yeah, now it is something I am aware of. And yeah, it's an important part for me. I really hope that maybe, I don't know, in 10 years, there is a better balance between men and women. In general, I think sports business in general is still, there's still many men working in, but motorsports is even, I think the balance is even worse. It is really a man's world. Yeah.
Well, if you look at cycling, it took 100 years to get a woman's Paris-Roubaix and Tour de France, and here we are. So one step at a time, like one important
exactly. I don't think it's something that will happen in, as you say, in I don't think we have in 3 years a women MotoGP championship. No. But I don't think it's also not necessary to force things that much. I think step by step and little by little, and then it will be also work more natural. But yeah, it is important. It is important because I think it's also better for an organization or a company in general to have a balance.
Diversity.
Yeah.
So you 100% are still changing the world. So thank you.
Thank you.
And on the entertainment front, I absolutely think so. For me, sport has always been a connector of people. Whatever the sport, it's a way for people to come together. I would not have the life I have in Spain if I didn't cycle, for example.
Yeah,
I meet so many people cycling. I have a whole bunch of friends. I have groups, and sport is a door opener.
Yeah, totally.
For me, sport is I don't know how people live without sport in their lives in one way or another.
Totally agree. Yeah.
From doing it from a mental health, physical health perspective, and then from actually connecting with a community in entertainment, in a common cause. It's just
No, I totally agree.
yeah.
I also think that's something I didn't know about motorsports, but I think the community feeling is quite important. The fan base, I think, is not as big as maybe in other sports, but people are really loyal to the sport.
Yes.
They are really big fans. Also because the championship is like a weekend long. It's not only a football match, for example, 90 minutes. No, it's like a weekend. People go together. For example, if you go to Jerez in the south of Spain, you see people who really go there with their group of friends for the whole weekend. They drive from everywhere with their bikes. It's more than just sport in that way. It's really like a culture kind of thing, and this is something I do really like. Yeah, this is really important. Yeah.
I had a friend from here who actually went to Jerez with a bunch of friends on their motorbikes.
Yeah.
I was like, next year I'm coming with you.
No, it is. I think Jerez is really like a legendary race in Spain. Like like you go to the village and until like 5 a.m. you hear bikes running and there are parties everywhere and there are the grandstands are full. People, it's really nice. It's a really nice environment. Yeah,
definitely. I have to confess that so I wrote an article about Marc Marquez quite a while ago, maybe last year, I can't remember. With COVID, who knows where the time goes. So he, for me, is one of the people I really respect.
Yeah.
So much, given what he's gone through, and he's just like never say die. But I do have to confess that I support Ducati because the first motorbike I ever went on was a Ducati. Like, oh my God, I'm in heaven.
Oh, so this year you were happy, no? Yeah, I understand that, and also, I mean, there's rivalry, of course, but
it's always and of course I support Brad Binder because
yes, this I also understand. Yeah. Also for a country, this is really important. It's a shame. Like I know in the past there was a race in South Africa, but for example, if we go to Australia and you see how important Jack Miller is for the fans, and in Spain there are so many Spanish riders, so it's but if you go to like another country where there are not so many, you see that there is also in Moto2 a Thai rider.
Yes.
And I worked with him in the past in the Spanish Championship because he was part of the talent promotion program from Dorna. And when you go to Thailand, he's like the national hero. This is really cool to see. And in Spain, of course, you have so many Spanish riders. So this is a bit different. But when you go abroad, it's really good to see how famous they are, and people really like them.
Dutch riders?
Yeah, there are 2 riders actually, but in Moto2.
Okay.
So this is also actually interesting that I had never been to a MotoGP event in my life before I went there in 2009 when I was selling the merchandise, and I arrived there and I said, wow, this event is so big. It's one of the biggest events in the Netherlands, and I had no clue. Also because I'm from Amsterdam, and also, well, the Netherlands is really small, but it's when you have to travel for an hour, you're like, oh, this is quite far, because it's so small. So I had never been there, and I think over the weekend there were like 100,000 of people, and I was so impressed. I had no idea.
Amazing. Such a big sport. I also had no idea before I started watching. I started watching MotoGP in 2017. Since then, I've been hooked. So when we come to the close of the conversation, I have something called the firing line. But if from our conversation, you have no issues with pressure. So it's a quick answer to each question. The first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
Best MotoGP circuit.
Mugello.
Why?
Because it's so beautiful, the
Oh.
surroundings. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Night in or night out?
Night in?
Night in or night out?
What do you mean with that?
Like
if I stay in or I go out?
Yes. If you have a free night, do you prefer to stay in or go out?
I think go out. Yeah.
Okay. What is your favorite? Like, do you go out with friends, or what is your favorite thing?
Yeah, go for drinks with friends. Yeah. And
Nice.
I also really like dancing. So
Well, listen, you can't live in Spain and not like dance.
this is true.
They don't let you in the country otherwise.
This is true, yeah.
Favorite food?
Italian food.
Dream for 2023.
Oof, that's a difficult one.
Sorry.
Dream for 2023. I haven't really thought about it. It's the time of the year to think about these things.
Listen, you don't get time to think about things, so I'm not surprised that you haven't thought about it.
Just hope that everything is coming back to normal 100%, and we can just again on what have a normal life without thinking of wars, COVID, all these things that are happening now in the world, and be genuinely happy again and not be worried a little bit all the time. This is what really annoyed me in the past years.
I agree 100%. Favorite or dream bicycle?
Oof. I have a BMC bicycle, and I'm just really happy with that one. So
nice.
I wouldn't change it for nothing, no, because I have like a special love to this bike. Yeah.
Amazing. You know, if you ever get time, you're invited to come and ride here.
Oh yeah, I would love to. Yeah. I don't know the north of Spain so well. I've been there several times playing hockey, but not visiting so much. No.
With the cycling here, te vas a flipar. It's like you will just freak out. It's just amazing.
I would love to. Still many things to discover in Spain. Yeah.
Cool. Last question I wanted to ask was dream person you would like to have lunch or dinner with?
Dream person. I think maybe Serena Williams, or I think she must be really inspiring. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you because you were one of my heroes and inspiration that I wanted
thank you.
to. So I am incredibly appreciative of your time. I know how absolutely precious it is. So thank you. It's been
no worries. Thank you for inviting me.
Such a pleasure to chat to you. And listen, we will chat because when you're in northern Spain, we're going to ride.
For sure. And if you're around Barcelona, then let me know. Cool. And I take you on a good ride.
You have been with Lisa and Velo Dulce. Thank you for joining me on the show. I will see you next year for another season of Velo Dulce. In the meantime, please rate this show on iTunes or just go and grab your bicycle and a friend and drink some coffee and celebrate life. Thank you, and I wish you Velo Dulce.